out here in case they come back.
Nope. A patty this special.
Try asking again.
And, well, I haven't had one of these babies in over 20 minutes, so...
Try asking again. Try asking again.
Something about SpongeBob always bothered me. I used to be a big ancient mythology fan as a kid. Yeah, I read the Percy Jackson books and everything. So I always found it odd how Neptune is depicted on the show. He's a king, but also a god, but he's not worshipped by the residents of Bikini Bottom. Not like how history says he would have been. So there's a god, there are churches, and there is an afterlife. The fundamentals of religious institution are here. They're just complicated. Especially when you consider how there are two versions of Neptune alongside a Poseidon. But before we could tackle all of that, I'd like to start off by discussing the parallels of religion in a much smaller scale. On the show, this is depicted through cults. We're going to be taking a look at two episodes. The first, Cephalopod Lodge. After SpongeBob tries to find out why Squidward is so uncharacteristically happy every third Wednesday of every month, he and Patrick follow him out of his home. They arrive at a pyramid-shaped building where an eye symbol appears frequently, most likely alluding to the Eye of Providence used by the Freemasons. While they're not technically a cult, this symbol has brought forth cultish vibes, given that it's supposed to be an all-seeing eye. This idea fits here with the lodge, as there will be great pressure to conform and follow the rules. This type of symbol is actually seen again in Good Neighbors, where SpongeBob and Patrick make Squidward the president of their club. But back to this episode. Squidward greets the doorman as Brother Roger, and they perform a surprisingly intimate tentacle handshake before he's welcomed inside, where many other cephalopods are conversing, all wearing the same robes. They get called to attention and quickly form two lines facing a curtain, where someone with similar but more complex robing emerges. The leader, he says that for centuries, cephalopods had one nemesis: moray eels. Whoever wants to join the lodge undergoes an initiation ceremony where they get stung by one. Which doesn't make sense considering that moray eels don't produce electricity, but whatever. After this new member gets shocked, the crowd cheers in excitement, and that includes SpongeBob and Patrick, much to the horror of the members. An upset Squidward confronts them to ask if they followed him there, but in doing so, he reveals his connection to them. The leader states that for thousands of years, no outsiders have witnessed that sacred initiation, and that he has desecrated the sanctity of the lodge, thus leading to his ousting. The rest of the episode revolves around SpongeBob and Patrick trying to cheer up Squidward, by attempting to apologize to the lodge, by starting their own secret club, and finally, by getting Squidward back into the good graces of the community he missed, only to be once again kicked out at the end. This episode, for its premise being just a funny haha gimmick, actually sets up an accurate and traditional cult. The Cephalopod Lodge is an organization run by a leader that uses social pressure to control its members. The lodge gives them a sense of belonging. They are all cephalopods. Here, they are brothers. The same robes are worn. Exclusive ceremony experiences are shared. There is a strong sense of community. This is why Squidward is so happy on the days where they meet. As he says, it almost makes the other 353 days worth living for. But when Squidward inadvertently breaks their rules, he is severely punished, with little to no chance for explanation. They expel him, cast him out into the streets, just like that. To the lodge and the members he once called brother, he has become the other. Their attitude towards him immediately shifting as soon as he's ousted. As for Squidward, he feels lost as his sense of identity is literally ripped away from him by someone that he once held dear. This is all unfortunately very similar to what happens in real cults, where someone is kicked out or leaves. They are ostracized by the people they considered friends and sometimes are even shunned by their own family. The remaining members of the cult are often told not to engage with them as they aren't seen as one of them anymore. This is why oftentimes these ousted members will try to come back. The outside world is scary. So they want to return to a comfortable life that they once knew, filled with people that loved and cared for them. All they have to do is follow the rules and keep the faith, which isn't something that's really discussed here, not like in Club SpongeBob. And if you ever want to watch SpongeBob or anything else with me in the community, please feel free to join our Discord and I'll see you over there. Now, this episode starts off with SpongeBob and Patrick up in a treehouse of sorts. When Squidward mocks them about their club, they respond by telling him that he can't get into the club even if he tried, and that he wouldn't fit in. Taking this as a challenge, he climbs up towards them and realizes that they were speaking literally. They have been cramped and stuck there for 3 days. But Squidward is there now, so they initiate him in, causing him to reject them, saying he would never want to be a member of their club. In his escape attempt, he ends up slingshotting them across Bikini Bottom and deep into a kelp forest. Squidward freaks out and immediately loses all hope. It's SpongeBob that tries to reassure him that they're a club and that they'll be fine if they just stick together. Besides, they have this, a magic conch that has the answers to all of their questions. SpongeBob and Patrick treat the magic conch's words as gospel.
We must never question the wisdom of the magic conch.
The shell knows all.
This leads them to ask it what they should do, and when it says nothing, they blindly follow this order because it will surely bring them prosperity. Squidward, of course, finds this whole thing ridiculous, and in an attempt to display the superiority of his free will, he makes his own decisions. That doesn't really go well for him. He's scared and he's alone. SpongeBob and Patrick, on the other hand, are feeling neither of these intense emotions because they followed the conch's orders. This could be seen as Squidward's punishment for leaving, as people tend to join cults to rid themselves of negative emotions. By not having to make a decision for themselves, the burden of fear and anxiety is lifted off of them. All they have to do is believe. It's no coincidence that when Squidward says that he's hopelessly lost, he finally finds a brightly lit exit as uplifting music plays. He goes towards it and celebrates, thinking he outsmarted the club, only to realize he ended up back at the crash site. The conch has given him another chance. As weeks go by, Squidward attempts to make the best out of the situation by putting up a physical boundary, a hat, shelter, and trying to hype up the warm food he's cooking. SpongeBob and Patrick, still following the conch's orders, remain motionless. As Squidward taunts them with his meager amenities, he gloats that they too could have had all of this if only they just listened to him instead of a magic clam. Once again, absolute disrespect to the club and its leader. Action must be taken. This is when a crashing plane carrying picnic supplies is forced to drop its cargo load, all conveniently landing around SpongeBob and Patrick. They smile and praise the conch for these gifts, leaving Squidward in disbelief. As they enjoy their spoils, Squidward looks on with envy, his ego shattering before him as his stomach takes over. He folds instantly and nervously says that he was just joking earlier, that he's still a member of the club, and like SpongeBob said earlier, the club needs to stick together. They welcome him back in with open arms. Once a member, always a member. But in his hurry to feast, Squidward's lack of belief once again emerges. When he couldn't decide what to eat, SpongeBob tells him to console the magic conch. Squidward not only rejects this motion, but mocks it. SpongeBob and Patrick are quick to pull everything away from him, keeping him from their prizes as a result of this disrespect. SpongeBob asks him if he's questioning the authority of the magic conch, as if he was pleading for his friend's belief to be as strong as his. Patrick then brings up a dire thought. What if Squidward isn't actually a brother? This, just like in the Cephalopod Lounge episode, further reflects how cults use this type of language to reinforce a sense of belonging and togetherness. They are all family, so you wouldn't want to do anything that would get you kicked out of your family. Squidward, trying to save face, tells them that they're misunderstood, that he loves the conch just like they do. Although, in doing so, the cracks in his veil of belief once again show as he calls the conch a piece of plastic. A slight that proves he's still a non-believer. The conch knows this. Squidward asks if it should have the spaghetti or the turkey.
Neither.
Soup?
I don't think so.
Growing frustrated, he asks if he can have anything to eat, and the answer is
No.
As he becomes more irritated, Patrick takes the conch from him to ask it if Squidward can have some of this yummy, delicious, super terrific sandwich. No. Can Patrick have it? Yes. Patrick is rewarded for being a true believer. Frustrated, Squidward takes the conch and desperately asks over and over again. He still thinks that it's a toy. All of these responses have to be randomized. This has all just been a huge coincidence. If he just keeps asking for food, eventually it will say yes, right? Squidward, at his wit's end, is about to lose it. SpongeBob asks him if he's okay, and Patrick tells him to maybe ask the conch. Squidward is obviously not okay, but rather than coming to that conclusion themselves, they almost shed more of their free thought by asking the conch for its guidance. That's when an explorer who heard the commotion comes to their rescue. Squidward, exasperated, clings to him. He's saved. This nightmare is finally over. He explains how he's been stuck out here for weeks with these two, being forced to endure their club and their magic conch shell. This triggers something in the explorer. Magic conch shell? He reaches into his shirt and pulls out the exact same conch. The explorer's face changes from very serious to goofy, symbolizing his regression from his own person to just another club member. Pure joy and happiness shines from his face. I'm reminded of something SpongeBob said earlier.
This copyrighted conch is the cornerstone of our organization.
He genuinely does believe that it's more than a toy, and so does the explorer who has an identical one. This can only imply that this cult is more widespread than we can imagine if the conch is mass-produced. They all celebrate finding each other with their club call. Well, all except Squidward. He can't believe it. The explorer then says that the conch is the one that told him to go out into this deep, deep kelp forest to save them, to save fellow club members. He then asks it the final question of the episode. What do they do now? Squidward stares on in complete horror as he finally understands. He already knows its response.
Nothing.
They praise it for its wisdom and then do just that. Squidward, mind-broken and weak-willed, has no other option at this point but to finally give in. He praises the conch himself and then sits down to do nothing. As I previously mentioned, cults can relieve its members of emotional weight. Squidward has nothing. In his multiple attempts to prove the conch wrong, he is punished over and over and over again. This is all he has left now, blind faith. Without a doubt, this conch seems to be the most worshipped thing on the show, which is surprising considering the canonical existence of actual deities. By the way, if you're enjoying this, please do consider subscribing. It really helps out a lot. Thanks. While they are not explicit, churches or church-like buildings do in fact exist in Bikini Bottom. In just one bite, Squidward is marrying a Krabby Patty, both of them in traditional marriage clothing in front of a priest officiating over the ceremony. There are decorative flowers, pews on either side of the aisle, and stained glass windows with anchor symbols. In Choir Boys, the building exterior is similar to that of a small, humble church. Once again, we see stained glass windows in addition to hanging banners. A choir such as this, on raised platforms besides a piano, would not be out of place in an actual church. In Truth or Square, Sandy walks down the aisle to marry SpongeBob, both in traditional clothing, in a building with pews on both sides, with an organ being played and a priest with an anchor symbol on his hat. While yes, this whole thing is revealed to be just a play, the priest tells Patrick that he didn't know that this was a play. Of course, the show doesn't really dive deep into the specifics of religion, given that it's not what it cares about. It's a show for jokes and entertainment. Everything is merely a vehicle to deliver that. This is why Neptune and Poseidon, despite being depicted and worshipped as gods in our real life history, when it comes to the show, even if they have the title of a god, they're treated much more like royalty than anything else. They have fans in the same way that people are fans of the royal family, but sometimes they are talked about as if they were more. While I was working on this video about the horrors of SpongeBob, go check it out after this if you haven't, I was watching Spongehenge, and there was a piece of dialogue that led me to making this very video. As two fish go outside on a very windy night, one of them says that Neptune is upset about something if he's causing this gale. The other fish, upon hearing this, laughs in his face, stating that everyone knows that Poseidon is the ruler of the undersea. In high sea diving, when SpongeBob ends up in a floating trash pile near the surface, he ends up dislodging several items that float down to the people of Bikini Bottom, who interpret these as gifts from Neptune himself. It gets to a point where the residents, in order to appease Neptune, were even about to sacrifice someone once the flow of items stopped. Meanwhile, Old Man Jenkins has been stuck up there for a year now, and in his isolation, convinced himself that he is King Neptune. He is, of course, smited later on for impersonating the real King Neptune. But what I want to focus on here is how when SpongeBob first sees Old Man Jenkins, he plays along with his delusions, calling himself Poseidon. Inciting a rivalry, they instantly start throwing stuff at each other. So there does seem to be some sort of discourse here. Now, let's pull back a bit to go over some things. Neptune is the Roman god of the sea. Poseidon is the Greek god of the sea. It's a whole thing, but essentially, ancient Romans adopted the gods that ancient Greeks worshipped. That's why they are so similar despite having different names. In the show, there is a lot of crisscrossing regarding mythology. Like I said, Neptune is a Roman god, but his wife, Amphitrite, a Greek goddess. The same goes for his son, Triton, a Greek god. In Triton Trouble, a Greek chorus opens up the episode to explain that they will narrate the events of the story. These resemble how actual chorus members would look as they wore expressive masks, spoke together, narrating and reacting to a play for the audience. In the show, they also reference other Greek gods, such as Zeus, Apollo, and Adonis. Neptune is also 5,000 years old here. His Greek counterpart, Poseidon, is only 3,000 years old. This differs from real life as between the two, Poseidon is the original god of the sea, so he should be the older one. While they both are kings, Neptune seems to be the more powerful being given his abilities, even able to turn SpongeBob into a god. Poseidon, on the other hand, in the one piece of media he's appeared in, the Sponge on the Run movie, is treated much more like royalty instead of a deity. At only 3,000 years old, he's aging, wrinkling, and becoming decrepit at a relatively faster rate than his rival. While Neptune is the king of Atlantis and the sea, Poseidon seems to just rule over a singular location, Atlantic City. And there's actually a scene where Poseidon states that some say he has the face of a Greek god, only to be reminded that he is a Greek god. And as far as I can tell, Spongehenge is the only other time Poseidon is referred to as a god in the SpongeBob universe. It's fitting that what follows this is the Poseidon believers' leftovers being whisked away by the wind. almost as punishment by Neptune for doubting him. So now that we've come to some sort of conclusion over who the more powerful, proper ruler seems to be, there is still a problem in that there are two King Neptunes, the television version and the movie version. They both look and act very differently. The one on TV is more God-coded as he's shredded and carries himself more like a superior being, while at the same time being able to recognize his faults. The one in the movie is bald, insecure, quick-tempered, and has more cartoonish features. These are qualities that more so fit a bumbling member of royalty. But this movie also introduces another key factor: Princess Mindy, King Neptune's daughter, a completely original character not based off of mythology, unlike the rest of his family. Both he and Mindy, for the longest time, were only shown in this film. This is because the movie is owned by Paramount, and thus, the exclusive elements in it couldn't be used on the show. At least not until 10 years after the film's release in 2014, where she starts making cameo appearances. So, given this, and the fact that movie Neptune's Crown makes a cameo on TV, does that mean that there are two King Neptunes out there? This is what we see in the 20th anniversary character poster, where both Neptunes are shown arms crossed, back to back, eyeing each other with great annoyance. This, of course, could be metaphorical considering that Amphitrite is on TV Neptune's side, while Mindy is on movie Neptune's side. However, so is Trident, who has only appeared alongside TV Neptune before, and my brain hurts. I feel like I have lost my mind trying to come up with a clear conclusion here with these two, and my frustration grew even further when I saw the Titans of the Tide video game. And as clear as day, there she is. Princess Mindy, next to TV Neptune. It's just a cartoon, it's just a cartoon, it's just a cartoon. Hi, so after recording this, I found out that in the cooking game, Krusty Cook-Off, Trident, Mindy, and Neptune all appear next to each other because, of course they do. Okay, so I'm just going to land on them being one and the same, and it's just two different depictions given how movie Neptune is never really seen again. But while we're talking about this game, there's something else from it that I really want to mention real quick: the Flying Dutchman's existence. He isn't a god or a king of any kind, but he is deceased. He is a ghost, and not the only specter seen, as even one of Neptune's advisors, Frank, dies off-screen and becomes a spirit. There is an afterlife in the SpongeBob universe, and the Flying Dutchman is a psychopomp, a being that guides souls into the afterlife, such as when he went to take Mr. Krabs to Davy Jones' locker. The Flying Dutchman is not all good, yet he is not all evil either. But what is clear is that he is a supreme being, given that the whole basis around this game is that he could butt heads with King Neptune himself and still hold his own. And it seems like we'll actually get a glimpse into his origin in the new SpongeBob movie, Search for SquarePants. But what is clear right now is that his power indeed rivals that of a god. So it's no wonder the citizens of Bikini Bottom were so afraid of him. To quote Incidental 24 from Fry Cook Games, I gotta get out of here. But if you want your name to appear at the end of videos, please consider becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching.